Now, to start the show, first we have the CEO talk by Brian Corrigan. Brian has nearly 2 decades of experience in the video gaming and esports space. He's now the studio director for the New York division of PUBG Corporation. Earlier this year, PUBG acquired MadGlory, which Brian co-founded and grew to capture a global audience. Committed to paying it forward, Brian also spends his time advising and investing in gaming startups. He's passionate about the industry and its future in New York. To these ends, Brian, along with Guha and Karthik Bala, who are in the audience tonight and whom you heard from last year, along with several others, are on a mission to turn the capital region into a worldwide gaming hub. Here to share the latest, please welcome Brian Corrigan.
Hey, thanks. Okay, so anybody who knows me, first of all, thanks, Kate. This is great. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Nasser, for doing this again. Anybody who knows me knows I'm horribly disorganized, so actually, I'm going to tell you that until I think about 5 o'clock this morning, I actually still thought we were in Turning Stone. So this was a surprise that this is a lot bigger. It's also why that great picture was up there from several years ago. But anyway, thank you for having me. And you know, this year, Kate asked me to do this because Karthik and Guha said no. So I'm the B team, but I'm really happy to be here. And as she said, we are sort of on a mission to build a gaming ecosystem in the capital region. And I have a stock presentation that I give on the gaming ecosystem. And it has great pictures of sold out 40,000 person stadiums, and a little bit about what that looks like. But I'm going to skip that today and kind of focus on numbers because I feel like this is a crew who would understand that. So let me do a little bit of that. Let's see if we can make this work. Hey, all right, cool. So gaming has a bit of a problem in that it still suffers from the stigma that it's played by a bunch of teenage dudes with acne in the basement. Right? At least that's what it was when I was a kid. Might have actually been a little more true actually back then, but it's certainly not true these days. So I'm going to kind of start high level and look at the industry and then zoom in a little bit. So this is the gaming industry over the last, I guess, 6 years and leading up to where we think it's going to be in 2021. And a lot of people didn't know this, but the gaming industry has seen about 11% growth year over year, right? Outsizing many markets that you're probably familiar with. But again, people don't tend to take it seriously. So as of this year, in 2018, we're projected to be a $137 billion industry, and you can see where it goes by 2021. And in the US, here's some stats on our players. So about 60% of people living in our country play video games every day. The average age is 36, not 14. The average male gamer, 36. So all those 14-year-olds like me, we grew up, and now we're older. And the average female gamer is 32. And this is a little bit of a funny one, but of the average age person, which is 36, 39% of gamers are female. So this has been an industry change over the last 10 years because we all realized that a lot of the people making games were men, but a lot of the people playing games were females. And so that's been something that we are very forward in trying to fix in the industry. And I think we're very progressive on that front. And then another interesting stat is that women over 18 are a greater population than boys under 18. So if you really want to think about what a gamer looks like these days, it's probably not what you expect. And on the industry itself, so again, these are numbers that we in the industry know. We don't even talk about it anymore because these are old news to us. But when I mention these, most people don't know that the gaming industry is much, 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 much bigger at this point than Hollywood. 3 times bigger almost. And that most game companies are small businesses, right? It's not these big mega conglomerates. Small businesses like Catapult Games, who's here with us today. Say hi, Dane. There you go. He's my token small business game company. Thanks, Dane. Yep. Thank you, Token. And right now we directly employ 65,000 people and indirectly around 220. And if you look in this room, we've done our best at MadGlory, and I know the Ballas and my old company with Agora Games, now owned by Warner Brothers. We did our best to keep all of our partners locally, so our accountants might be here, but if not, they're from Syracuse. Our lawyers from Syracuse. Actually, I don't really know why we don't hire people in Saratoga, which is where I live, but seem to have a lot of people in Syracuse. And this is an interesting one, which is the average salary in gaming right now is $97,000, right? Surprisingly high number. These are very high-paid STEM jobs. People don't look at it that way. That's what this is. And last year we heard about, or 2 years ago when I was here, we heard about how bad the situation of venture capital is in upstate New York and how we were something like 48th or 49th region in the country. But I have a surprise for you. In gaming, we're number 4, and you probably don't know that. So California is number 1, Washington, Texas, and a lot of exclamation points, New York. 4th in the country, okay? Right? Who knew that before today? Karthik, Guha, Dane. Cool, and me. That's good. So yes, this is true, and these numbers are actually a little bit old. It's about double this now, but these were from 2015. So 4th nationally, what does that actually mean? So California being number 1, there's a big synergy between the types of people who work in Hollywood and the types of people who work in gaming. And California is first with 2.7 billion. 765 million for Texas, and you can kind of see the numbers from there. But Washington is the home to Microsoft, as you might imagine, Seattle. So that's why they're there. But what's interesting is that even nationwide, while we're 4th for revenue, we're 3rd for college graduates that go into the industry, right? So we're actually ahead of Washington in that one. Well, I put the average salary up there twice. But anyway, in New York, we have 11 major publishers and 39 development studios. Let's talk about the Capital Region, which is what I care about. So, in the Capital Region, did you know Vicarious Visions? Of course you did. They're owned by Activision. They made Skylanders and many other huge franchises. They're currently working on Destiny, which I think last year did about $250 million. You probably have not heard of the PUBG Corporation, which I hadn't either, and neither had most of the world 24 months ago. But that's my company these days. We're a $5 billion company based in South Korea. And last year we did $725 million in the States, which is not so bad. Nationally, obviously. I'm sorry, $725 million globally. Let me fix that one. Warner Brothers, also based in Troy. If you drive downtown, you'll see the giant WB logo right downtown. And then the new studio, which the Ball has founded, Veland Studios, and also Troy First Playable, and then a lot of other companies like I mentioned, Danes. But these are kind of our 5-pillar studios. Years ago, I remember that we'd sit around and we'd say, oh, if we could only get a 4th studio, and then Veland popped up. And then we'd say, oh, but what's the odds that we get a 5th? And then we got acquired. So, we're at a point where we're hitting critical mass. And we're doing this without any help, basically, from anybody, which is great. That's what entrepreneurship sometimes is. Cool, so big achievements for us in the last 12 months. Vicarious launched Destiny 2. If you've ever heard of that, if you're a gamer, that's a mega franchise. Karthik and Guha founded the New Veland Ventures, which is one of the very few venture funds in the country that will invest in gaming. There's not a lot of them because it's a very interesting, completely foreign model to most venture capitalists. WB launched big games like Shadow of War and Injustice. I put the games on here because I realized many people may not have heard of them, but to me, these are all of our babies, and they're very exciting. Shadow of War is a Lord of the Rings game. When I was a kid, that was like one of my dream games, and I've worked on like 5 of them now. One of them approved by Peter Jackson, which was pretty cool. First Playable got a big deal with Disney, so we're working with Disney in Troy now, right? PowerSpike is a startup that started here in Syracuse, and I recruited them to move to the Capital District, haha. They raised $500,000 from Cox and the 76ers, and yours truly. And MadGlory, we're now part of PUBG and working on PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. We have 500 million players right now in the world. One of the biggest games ever. Yep. Our biggest competitor is Fortnite. I don't know if everyone's heard of Fortnite. Yep, so they stole our game, no. And Catapult Games launched their beta last year and will launch, which I'm most excited about, and they will launch either later this fall or in spring to their full game. So, the future. We don't have much that we're asking for. First, we want to enroll more supporters in the ESA. It's free, areweinyourstate.org, hard to forget, sign up right now. You'll show up on Twitter. If we get 75,000 people, we'll be California. So That's how many we need. That's my goal. Enroll 75,000 people in areweinYourState.org. Number 2, keep working to find new companies. Janelle Group, we passed on a lot of our work to them, Catapult Games. Work closer with the other cities. Expand presence at Play New York City, which is our first big gaming conference, which is exciting and big. Pass the tax credit. We aren't looking for a handout. This tax credit is needed because this is a lot more like funding a band than it is like funding a business startup, and traditional funding models don't work. We're getting eaten alive by competition from Montreal, which reimburses 35% of all operating costs for game companies. New Jersey, which just passed or is about to pass the tax credit, and other states as well. So this business will be bought from us if we don't help. We're not asking for much. It's $50 million. It's not a lot of money. And that's it. So yeah, thanks for having me today. And if you have any questions, I'm around all day.